HMIS privacy. When a participant shares their information, the information they share is precious. Oftentimes, persons experiencing homelessness feel like all they have control over is their own information, and the possessions they have and hold dear is information about themselves. That information is also very personal. We ask questions about their identity, ask questions about their income, their social security, and about their situation. And therefore, all information that is shared is private and has to always remain private. Key terms in HMIS privacy. Personally identifiable information, or PII. That is, any information that identifies, makes able to identify, or if linked with other information can identify a client. For example, name, date of birth, social security number, in and of itself and when combined can identify who a person is. Covered Homeless Organizations, or CHOs. That's any organization and their employees, volunteers, contractors, or anyone that records, processes, or utilizes client PII, commonly referred to as HMIS agency or HMIS user. What is client data privacy? It is clients' control over sharing information concerning themselves. The content, or what, such as physical, including medical, behavioral, such as their mental health, and intellectual academic records, or the circumstances of their settings. It is the extent that they share it. How much do they share about their medical records, and how long of that record do they share? The sharing also involves the time and timing. Do they share all of it, or is it in phased amounts, or do they have to repeat themselves? Again, the place and circumstances of where they share it and to who they share it with. Control over the content, extent, time, place, and situation for self-sharing requires specific privacy directives for that interaction and also for sharing that information with others. Whom does privacy apply? Simply, any entity that enters client data, processes client data, or receives referrals from client data through PA-HMIS. HMIS privacy applies therefore to all CHOs and their programs. Therefore, the balance of state COC agencies of Eastern PA, or COC PA 509, and Western PA, COC PA 601, and all other COCs and agencies that use PA-HMIS. The PA-HMIS privacy notice contains the privacy directives required by HUD data standards and PA's HMIS privacy policy and procedures. The privacy notice must be viewable and available to all participants. There are 6 factors related to HMIS privacy: the collection of the data, the quality of the data, the purpose and use limitation, openness, access and correction, and accountability.
Data collection. Agencies may only collect PPI when appropriate to its purpose or required by regulation, if it's collected voluntarily, fairly, and by lawful means. Agencies must post a sign at each intake desk or location which explains reasons for collecting this information. That is the HMIS privacy notice. Data quality. PPI must be accurate, complete, and consistent. Responses should not be assumed by staff but come from the client. Purpose and use limitations. The purpose for the collection, use, and all instances for disclosure of PPI must be communicated in displayed privacy notice or verbally if collected by phone or remote means. Any use or disclosure not specified in the privacy notice can only be made with the consent of the client or when required by law. Agencies may use releases of information in addition to the privacy notice as required by your agency, but it is not required by HUD. Openness. The policy and practice of how PPI is processed must be stated in the privacy notice. Privacy notice must state that PPI policies and practice may be amended at any time, and that amendments may affect information obtained by the agency before date of implementation. Privacy notice should be made available to any individual upon request. Access and correction. An HMIS participant should be allowed to inspect and have a copy of any PII concerning themselves, including access to electronic data or hard copies. Agencies must offer to explain any information on the individual that they may not understand. Agencies must consider any request by the HMIS participant for correction of inaccurate or incomplete PII pertaining to that individual. Accountability. Agencies must establish a procedure for accepting and considering questions or complaints concerning its privacy policies and practices. Agencies must require each member of its employees, volunteers, affiliates, contractors, and associates to sign a confidential agreement of receiving and compliance with the Notice of Privacy and Practices. A privacy notice that explains the reason, policy, and practices for data collection must be displayed at each intake station or comparable location. A copy of the privacy notice must be given to anyone who requests it. Implicit but informed consent. HUD allows the sharing of PII for the following cases without participant consent as long as clients are informed in the COC privacy notice. To provide or coordinate services to an individual. For functions related to payment or reimbursement for services. To carry out administrative functions, including but not limited to legal, audit, personnel, oversight, and management functions. For creating de-identified reporting from PII. Uses and disclosures to avert a serious threat to health or safety. Uses and disclosures about victims of abuse, neglect, or domestic violence. Uses and disclosures for research purposes. Uses and disclosures for law enforcement purposes. HMIS security. What is security? It is the means for ensuring that client data in all forms, electronic and hard copy, places such as office, file, mobile vehicle, electronic system, computer or mobile device, server, and internet, is safe from damage, abuse, misuse, or misappropriation, and access is suitably controlled. Whom do security standards apply? Security standards apply to every agency, program, and person who records, processes, uses, shares, or receives client data and PII using PA-HMIS. That is the entire PA-HMIS implementation, the balance of state, east and west, and any other COC that uses PA-HMIS. The CHO and their employees, volunteers, affiliates, contractors, and associates who have access to PA-HMIS or its clients' information. PA-HMIS staff. All agencies receiving or entering client data through PA-HMIS, regardless of funding source or HMIS participation status. There are three categories related to HMIS security, and it is about the security of the means and storage. Number 1, electronic data system, computers, devices, inter and intranet. Software application. Number 2, the HMIS vendor. And finally, number 3, hard copy, physical storage, and backup of client information. Electronic data system security. Security provisions in all mainframe and server networks, desktops, laptops, remote work locations, or access hubs and mobile devices where HMIS client data is captured or stored. Each user should have a specific username and strong password or two-step authentication method both to their device and to HMIS. Each user should not share their HMIS password or login for another to use, and not store or display in any public accessible location. Each device and IP used to access HMIS data should be inventoried. Workstations should be locked or have a timeout mechanism after a period of inactivity that require password access to be re-entered. Agencies should inform their DCED HMIS administrator 24 hours prior to a user no longer working or assigned to their HMIS license so that access can be terminated. Software application security. Eccovia and DCED adhere to security standards to protect HMIS systems through the following mandates: virus protection, firewalls, system monitoring. HMIS has a timed logout after a period of inactivity, and HMIS logs all activity in an audit trail by user ID. Hard copy security. Agencies must secure any paper or hard copy containing PA-HMIS client data, such as reports, data entry forms, signed consent forms, through the following means. Staff are to maintain possession and control of hard copies when in public areas. Secure hard copies in areas not publicly accessible, such as in securely locked rooms or cabinets that will be locked when staff leave. HMIS privacy and security. Privacy and security is everyone's responsibility. We are to ensure that clients' PII and data remain confidential. Remember to review policies on a regular basis and keep them in mind during your daily activity.